and welcome to this very special conversation with someone who was a cynosure of all eyes over a long period of time. I'm talking about someone who's now become an author. Indrani Mukerjea spent a long time in jail, accused of some of the most heinous and most sensational allegations that you can think of having murdered, allegedly, her own child. All the controversies, all the hassles that Indrani ji has been through in her life, she's now come up with this book. What is it that prompted you to do this book?
I actually wrote this book while I was in prison. During the pandemic, we were not taken to court because of obviously restrictions, and the courts were shut. So I had a lot of time in my hands. And by then I had finished reading my charge sheet and working on all the loopholes and ensuring that I get bail. But perhaps I would have come out a bit earlier had the pandemic not hit India. And
So how did you write this when you were in prison? You wrote it in your own hand, or you had access to?
No, in prison actually you aren't allowed access to a computer or any electronic gadgets. So, but in the canteen, there's a bookshop. There's a shop in the jail where you're allowed an allowance of only 4,000 rupees every month. So, which you can buy your fruits, nuts, books, your whatever stuff, your kajals and your lotions and all that. So I used to spend most of my money buying notebooks and pens and whiteners. So just to erase if I needed to. And I ended up actually writing 1,29,000 words during that period of pandemic, actually for a year. I think I finished this book almost in a year. And after I came out of prison, I completed the rest. So it was a very, very interesting way to spend time, and it was a healing process also, because this book is really a catharsis, and it talks a lot about a lot of things that was pent up, a lot of issues that I wanted to address. And
Is this, if I may, if I was to look at this exercise as an attempt which is being made by you to make the people look at you through a very unipolar lens, that Indrani Mukerjea is this person who's done no wrong in life, and everybody right from her childhood has basically wronged her, has cheated her, let her down. Was that the intention?
I do not believe in this book anywhere I have said anybody has cheated me. Yes, as a child, I did undergo abuse which I could not deal with. But for example, when I was in Kolkata and I was married there, at no point have I actually put any allegations on Sanjeev. In fact, I made it very clear that I left and I walked out of that relationship because, I took that decision not because he wronged me, perhaps I outgrew it, and it's written in my book, right? So whether it was a good decision or a bad decision is not the point. It was my decision. That was important. That is one. And in this thing also, I think what is very important to understand that I have really not written anything about the case, right? But also I think it was very important for me to respond to all the allegations that were made about me, which were not even connected to my case. People had, the judgments and the opinions.
Yeah, you named everybody in the book.
I have named.
From Sohail Seth to Shobha Day to...
I have not only named, I have put links on the footnotes so that people can refer to, so people don't really say I have just cooked up something. So, which were very unnecessary. I mean, do people really have so much time to go interview after interview to talk about me? So that was really I think it was in very poor taste. So I thought the best way I did not react because I don't believe in reactions. And so this is not a book of defiance or kind of book to tell people that, oh, I have never tried to show that I am the Abla Nari, because I am not. I have led a very unconventional life, and I'm very proud of the fact that I have always been a very ambitious woman.
So who's Indrani Mukerjea? You know, for our viewers, you say that it's not as if that people cheated you, or that's not the impression you're trying to create in the book. But do we say that Indrani Mukerjea is a person who has been victim of betrayals, if not cheating, betrayals? Like, you know, let's say when you were growing up, your mother not standing up in your favor, right? When you're dealing with something as sensitive as child abuse, right? So are you the victim of betrayal in your lives?
See, you asked me, did I feel betrayed by my mother? As a child, because I was very young, I was a minor at that time, right? My emotions were not as evolved. I was very sad, but I still took one decision, that I was not going to continue living with that abuse, which is why I left home, right? That was
when your father comes in.
When my mother took that decision, I took a stand and I held my ground, even though it was a tough choice to make. But I made the right choice, and I know I made the right choice, because otherwise I would not have been writing this book, Unbroken. I would have been a broken woman.
At the age of 19, you write in your book that you're an unwed mother of 2 children, and your grades are you continue to do exceptionally well in your academics. Talk us through your decision when you decide to let your children be adopted by your parents. What was going on in your mind at that time?
So at that point, very honestly, I thought like a 18-year-old. Okay, so today perhaps, I don't know what I'm going to think today, but at that point, and I will be very candid about it, I don't know whether it was a right decision or a wrong decision, but I could not handle any further abuse. I could not at that point face my father or live under the same roof as my father.
Therefore, you just wanted to get out.
I just wanted to, I think I would have killed myself at that point. I think I would have done it. And I don't think I would have survived. However, at the same time, several years later, which was almost I think 14, 15 years later, as my parents aged, and they reached out to me, because at that point, my father was ailing and they needed financial and economic support. When they reached out, I think I was a good daughter.
Let's look at the case a little closely now. What is the reality as per Indrani Mukerjea? I know there's a legal case, but what's the reality?
I have written it in the book, and I want the viewers, obviously, and the readers to read the book. So if I tell you everything right now, then then I think, so let's leave that to the court. But all I can say is that the evidence that has come so far on record, because ultimately in any case, a conviction or an acquittal happens based on evidence. And I have learnt it the hard way, and there is nothing else I believe in apart from evidence.
Through the book and all your whatever I could find in public domain, you maintain all along that Sheena is still alive.
Okay.
Is that a
correction here? Correction here. I have never maintained, I have never claimed that Sheena is alive. I have not. Okay, the evidence that there are 2 parts to this thing. Evidence that has come on record, which is forensic evidence. One is medical, and I'll just run you through it so that it is, because it's already in an open court, the evidence has come, so I can talk about it, right? It's not an in-camera trial. As far as the forensics go, the DNA expert has come to court and deposed and said that the DNA report that he had given is based on the electropherograms which he had changed in his own handwriting. So it is an electropherogram can only, it's like a cardiogram, right? It's a graph and then the allele numbers come. So it is only supposed to be machine printed. So that he has admitted. So there goes the DNA report. Now there is a post-mortem report which was attached in the charge sheet, which obviously reads very clearly, which says that no brain matter. So you can only check brain matter when you cut a skull open. So obviously our defense lawyers asked the doctor, who's Dr. Thakur, that how did you check the brain matter? And he went out of his way to explain to us in court and the honorable judge as well that he used a saw and he made a circular cut and opened the skull cap and basically took out the entire skull, the top part of the skull cap, and checked there was no brain matter. And then after all of that, the CBI produced a full skull, an intact skull with not even a mark on the skull. So the forensics, medical forensics were out of the window. Secondly, now we are talking about electronic forensic records. This is also by the DFSL, right, which is again a government body. So these are not things that I have said.
Sure.
These are this is very important because a lot of messages were retrieved from Rahul Mukerjea's phone, and it has come on record and it has been established that Sheena and Rahul were in contact with each other 5 months after, like there are several messages 5 months after the alleged date of murder. So one thing is established that Sheena was definitely alive well after, supposed to have been dead and gone 5 months earlier. So that obviously gave everyone that understanding that she was definitely, that murder
did not happen at that time.
So then that, now nobody can come back and say nahi humse galti ho gaya, actually ab nahi hua tha tab hua tha. So that is gone. Later, now this is a very important part of that Sheena being alive or not alive. There are several people who have claimed to have met Sheena, but there is this very renowned lawyer. She's a very respected, well-known lawyer in India. Also, she has known Sheena for the last 20 years. So it's not like she does not know Sheena, who has taken a video footage of her, on her colleague's phone with Sheena in the Guwahati airport, which she went and submitted in court. This happened in January in the CBI court, along with an affidavit saying that this is so and so. And based on that, we applied in the CBI court, which of course there was the CBI opposed, saying that no, we asked for a CCTV footage to be provided by the airport authorities. And CBI opposed it. I think that's a part of their protocol. They have to object to every application that's filed. But the Honorable Court looked at the video footage and immediately gave instructions to the authorities to provide the CCTV footage, which is now kept sealed.
Has she been in touch with you?
No.
Have you made any attempt to find out?
Yes.
Where is she?
Yes.
Yeah. You've spoken to her, what, friends, relatives?
No, I have just come out just a year ago. So I am doing everything in my capacity, in whatever bandwidth I have. I cannot do a legal investigation because I am not an agency.
Sure, but the point, Indrani, that then stands out is that, let's say if Sheena was not murdered or not killed at that time, and now with all this video footage also having come up, this whole exercise appears to be a big conspiracy.
You're absolutely right.
I'm trying to understand who would benefit from conspiring against you.
See, in my opinion, okay, this is my opinion.
Sure.
I cannot say it because till I don't have evidence, I don't think I can rightfully claim. However, in my view, I feel very, very strongly that which I have also written in my book, that Peter had something to do with my arrest. I don't know, because I cannot believe it that, you know, your wife is arrested.
What does he gain by getting you arrested?
Well, you should ask him that question.
is
if you
there,
ever-
you know, are there skeletons in his cupboard?
I think everybody has skeletons. That is, the reality is that everybody has dark secrets. Everybody has a dark side and a good side. And some
And
people.
you know, obviously you know both sides.
So, I think also some people are ambitious, but they don't want to show they're ambitious. I'm not ashamed to say I'm ambitious, because I don't think it's a crime to be ambitious.
You know, because in the book, it's very interesting. You start the book by talking about this retired Mumbai police commissioner, you know, who's a senior cop and is about to retire a few weeks down the line. And then towards the end, you come about Peter Mukerjea, you know, the fact that you were very clear that you were going to divorce him, you know, while you were in prison. So, I mean, are you suggesting that this entire exercise was created, concocted by Peter Mukerjea to basically frame you in connivance with Mumbai police?
There is a very strong possibility, and I have reasons to believe that. But however, till I can really establish that, I think it would be very inappropriate for me to say that with confirmation. But I have so many reasons, which I have stated in my book, why I believe that. I have stated it in my book, why I feel that, you know, there is a very strong possibility. And I had in fact filed an application in court saying that I do believe that, you know, he's behind my arrest. I had filed an application.
So just to go back, you know, to that moment, to that evening or the day when the cops actually first take you, and you know, in your book you mentioned that how you were completely stunned and you thought that Peter will come and, you know, and
I
help
waited
you.
for him. I mean, if today Peter was arrested in my place, I think I would have turned the world upside down. I mean, who plans, who calls up the society manager or you know, or calls the committee to stop a transfer, and who goes around moving jewelry and you know, transferring accounts the day your wife is arrested? It is ridiculous. Or who plans a 60th birthday party and invites people from all over the world? Are you seriously, are you for real? That's you know, it's all surreal, right?
So till that point,
Yeah.
you know, till that point when this realization actually dawns on you, you never had any inkling, any doubt about Peter's real motives.
You know, I'll be very honest, it's a very interesting question that you have asked me, because nobody has asked me this question. There were times I felt in the last, I would say, 6 months before I went into prison, somehow I just couldn't put a finger to it. Sometimes you know there is something, but you don't know what
Like,
it
you know,
is.
when you meet his estranged wife in London, as you mentioned in the book,
Yeah.
she tells you
Yeah.
by the side that he says one thing, does one thing,
Yes.
and ends up doing something completely different.
Yeah. But at that point,
I mean, I'm trying to understand whether any signals were.
signals, I think there were, but you know, when you're in love with a person, you choose to ignore those signals because you are so much into that person and you believe, and it's a long relationship. I stayed married to him for 17 years, so it's a long time. So it was.
You know, what is the nature of your relationship with your children from your different relationships?
See, as far as Sheena goes, I have had, till she disappeared, I've had, in my opinion, apart from 3 years where after she met Rahul, suddenly, up until she met Rahul, I had a fantastic relationship with her. And then she met Rahul and something went wrong. I don't know what went wrong, because obviously Rahul never really had I would say, a very civilized relationship with me. I think he was always very anxious, which comes out in the emails and things, that though I met Peter 13 years after he got divorced, so I was not the cause of his divorce, but I think
He was
perhaps
hostile towards you, as you mentioned. In the book.
yeah. I think he probably, I was the final nail on the coffin, I think, where he felt that there was no scope for his parents to get a, fair enough, that's, as a 19-year-old, he could have thought like that. So I don't grudge him on that. However, after that, I think Sheena just was detached from me till she again decided to connect with me. And there are several kind of messages exchange in between Sheena and Rahul in 2012, which show very clearly and which he has admitted in court, where she tells him that, listen, you stop interfering in my relationship in between me and my mother. I am very happy with her. So this is just before she disappears. And she says things like that, I'm feeling very pressurized by your Dehradun family to get married. I don't want to do this. So these are things that so there was something that was happening in that period.
There is the other side to your entire story. When you were in prison,
Yeah.
News came out that
Yeah.
the INX media company, which you had set up, that there was some alleged involvement of a top cabinet minister at that time and his family members, Karthi Chidambaram and Mr. Chidambaram.
Yes.
This news is, has often been spoken about
Yes.
at great length.
Yes.
Want to throw some light on that? What was the nature of the involvement there?
Actually, these conversations I have already written in my book as well, started happening. I mean, obviously we couldn't, that time when INX was, I think in 2009, all of this happened. Yes. And when the government changed later, I was very, very keen really to come out with it. And I've written that in my book. Yes. I was very, very keen. But then I think also perhaps rightfully so, or rightfully or wrongfully, because it was playing in my conscience and I wanted to just get it out. But again, people don't want to get involved in, I've never seen a police station in my life. I've never jumped a red light in my life. So for me, it was also a bit intimidating. I just didn't know how to go about it. But one fine day, but I did have several conversations with Peter on this, that I think we should talk about it and find a way to get it out, because it will come to bite us back, which it did. So it did. But I think sometimes I also feel that perhaps, maybe, I don't know, that there was a nervousness, because the more edgy I was getting about this in the 6 months prior to my arrest, maybe that also made Peter a bit nervous.
But don't you think that, the other way to look at it, like, this con man Sukesh Chandrasekhar, I find that when it comes to a real political question, a political controversy, Mr. Chandrasekhar always ends up being the easy guy who will say, oh, this party opposed to the BJP or that party opposed to the BJP. He was doing some wheeling dealing with all those parties. Would it not be a fair conclusion to draw that for your relief, you've actually got a sweet deal for yourself? Accuse Mr. Chidambaram, take favor from the BJP.
No, but I haven't accused him, so this happened in 2009, so how could I have accused him?
No, you're accusing him now, I'm saying.
I am not accusing him. CBI and the ED have accused him. I have not accused him.
Right,
so
but
I have never accused him. So I do not have the legal authority to accuse him. I was asked questions and I have given the answers. And I would also like to put it on record, okay? So I have seen all these kind of very vicious, fallacious and malicious comments where people have said, oh, perhaps she's gone and cut a deal. But that is very incorrect, because my charge sheet in my case was filed in 2015, the charge sheet that has collapsed, okay? And there was no inkling, that I had no clue at that point. But my case collapsed even before that.
So you don't have a reason.
So I don't have a reason. And in 2017, May, when I read this, think that is when I said that I think I will definitely now speak up, because if they ask me, I am not going to be dishonest about it, because that is, there are signatures, there are emails, there are checks. So, how do you lie about a check that has been issued? So, there is documented proof, right? There's documented evidence. So, when there is documented evidence, it's very difficult, A, to lie about it, and there was no need. And I must also reiterate, so that it is, see, I am of course very upset with one section of the agency for being in a rush to have filed my charge sheet, because if they wouldn't have filed my charge sheet within 90 days, I would have got bail in my case. However, having said that, when you talk about good cop and bad, this good cop, bad cop thing, so there are good cops and there are bad cops. So I wouldn't say bad cops, but there are cops
Not
who like
everybody
to
would like
rush
to get
things. But however, I did have this experience when I was going for this whole Chidambaram, this thing. I was very clearly kind of explained in the CBI office very clearly that, because I asked this question when they said that, will you testify? They asked me this question that, will you testify? As they didn't tell me witness or this thing. So I said that, tell me something that if I testify, what happens then? Am I being, this is nothing connected to my case. So I asked that question, that am I going to be pardoned if I testify for this INX case? And I think that time Mr. Rakesh Asthana was at that time, I think the CBI special director. Yeah. Yes. So he was very candid about it, and he told me very clearly, he said that you must do what is right and what is true, but I must also warn you that this could be used as evidence against you, because you have admitted the guilt, and it is entirely up to the court to decide whether they will grant you pardon for this. So
is that, so in conclusion, Indrani, is that
there was no, let me put it on record, there was no quid pro quo, and neither any senior officer nor any junior officer there ever, or anybody, offered me a quid pro quo, neither did I ask anybody for a quid pro quo for this.
Okay. But if the situation so demands at some stage, you'd be open to making a statement in this Chidambaram case?
No, at the right time, yes, because my statement, I have already deposed. So that's, deposed means I've made a statement at the magistrate court, accused in that case. So
finally, Indrani, what's the message that the reader takes from your book? You were just, you were talking about it, that you've never jumped a red light in your life. You're a perfectly law-abiding citizen, right? Yeah. What's the messaging? What's the impression you wish to carry that the viewer should be looking at you with?
Okay, I think there is more than one message in this book. Okay, I think I've addressed several issues here regarding child abuse, regarding misogyny, regarding opinions, passing opinions about people you don't know, which is, I think, very incorrect, I feel. And most importantly, I think I was judged as a mother. People forgot about the case completely. So I went through a massive media trial. And that media trial initially, which started off with the case, became more of a character assassination, which I think should not be allowed. I genuinely feel so, because it can be very, very damaging to the case itself, because it is a distraction for everybody, right? Like, for example, in my charge sheet, there is a very interesting line, and I laugh about it. Indrani Mukerjea is a very ambitious woman. Of course I am. So, right? And then people went on record to talk about how I should have raised my children. Really, I don't tell you how to raise your kids. Please don't tell me I'll raise my kids the way I want to raise them. So don't tell me how I should live my life, because I don't tell you how you should live your life. So,
Fair enough, fair enough. Great pleasure speaking to you, and all the very best for your book that you've released. Thank you.